Good morning, guys. So, today I want to show you some in depth explanations for my trading plan for today's trading session and what I am seeing prior to CPI news and jobless claims. First of all, my overall view of the markets is very bullish, and traders are also positioned for some positive expectancy out of today's trading session and the news that are about to come. And without further ado, let's dive into the charts. This is the ES, and what I'm looking at and focusing on is first of all the range we are trading in with 5850 and 5720-ish is the major resistance and support level I am looking at, and at 5790-ish the key level where I will determine whether it is more likely to see more downside or upside. And after yesterday's trading session, which was very bullish, it's easy to see that we should be looking for more upside than downside, and that's that is that. um what else am I looking for? So while I will go through the options data in a couple of minutes, I expect mainly that we will see, if news come out as positive, to trade into that 5900-ish level here. And the reason for that is everything is skewed to the upside. If news come out as positive, what is unusual that you see a strong front run of price action prior to that day, but we have to deal with what markets are giving us. So yeah, traders have positioned themselves very bullish. So this is the main resistance right now, and if news come out as positive, I expect us to breach through that level. Maybe something like this, come back down a little bit, not much, and then try to advance higher into this level here. Let's delete all this. So why am I saying this and thinking that? Is, let's go into Volant. First of all, we have the aggregate VANA trend, which is declining throughout the last couple of months, which is a leading indicator. And you see right here is a negative bar. This indicates that as of right now, the S&P has reached its upper limits, and we haven't had that in a very long time, as you can see. So this is a leading indicator. And what you had here, for example, is a decline of the aggregate VANA trend throughout the months of June. And shortly after that, in July, we had the major decline in the markets as well. Let's delete, which was this one right here. So in July, you had the decline. Nobody could have foreseen or forecasted how big that decline would turn out to be. However, this is all in the past, but it shows you some sort of conditioning that as of right now we have reached the limit on ES, but those macro event news can easily offset um, those barriers we are trading in right now. So that is what I'm seeing here, limit reached. Then looking at VANA inertia, VANA measures the sensitivity of an options pricing in relation to volatility itself, and it's showing negative 0.71, which indicates that price is more sensitive to negative news than it is to positive news, which will result in, if CPI comes in as disappointing, that the move to the downside will be twice as much as it would be to the upside, which is again in line with the 5,900 level, which isn't that far away from where we are trading right now. So if news come in negative, just based on that, I would expect us to at least come back to the line in the sand, which is roughly around 100 points away, which is a huge move. So that is that. Then let's look at gamma itself. This is to determine my support and resistance levels itself. And what is easily to see is that we have here a little bump, let's say it like this, and that we have here this major exposure to the upside, which easily shows you that positioning is very bullish and traders are expecting more upside to come based off that, while if new negative news come out, you see that here is not much support in between. Once we have breached those support levels down below here, so that is in line with the VANA inertia itself, which is saying that a downside move on negative news can be greater than an upside move. So that is that, and let's dive a little bit deeper into it. This is 5,800 level. This is where we are trading right now at this level here. And yeah, that's the top as of right now, but as I said, CPI can offset those limitations in the markets and can trade above it. But what you can see here is very strong positive bars into 5850, which is the 5,900 level on ES, and some specials down below here with negative gamma exposure. And here's where I expect some greater resistance before touching that level, if we can go so far. I have no idea how price will react, trade, or the direction itself. I only can make educated guesses, and based off the data I determine how my levels are. When we look at the aggregate, we can easily see that market makers are in a positive gamma environment right now, which results in they are hedging by buying into dips and selling into rips, which should suppress volatility. When we look at the exposure towards volatility in VANA by strike, we can see the convexity is something like this, then goes up, and we have it like this. So what it's telling us that to the downside there is um, some sort of support. However, it's further out, and to the upside, those big bars indicate that if volatility stays low or gets even lower, that those big strikes here are acting as magnets to the upside, and those are greater than those positive bars here on the downside, which are very limited, which will act as magnets if volatility increases. And those red bars here indicate repellents for price, where we can expect some sort of resistance based off volatility itself. And what we can see here is 5,900 is where traders have positioned themselves in relation of volatility, and also 5,850, which again is the 5,900 level on ES. And that's why, because we have these green bars all over, that I'm saying that if news come out as positive, it is highly likely to trade into that 5,900 level, with that one exception right here, where I expect some sort of resistance from price itself. So that is that with the exposure by strike. Let's go into the aggregate trend overall, because it shows you the not the exposure by strike, but shows you how it's contributed around the entire options chain. And what you can see here is this acts as an accelerant to the downside because it's below the zero line, and this right here acts as resistance. So this means we have very little to none support below, so price would really need to advance higher. Otherwise, downside can be greater than upside itself, which is in line with the inertia telling us the relation to negative or positive news again. So we have some support here, but that's basically nothing at 5,780. 5,780 is this what we have, this level right here. And these aggregate positionings or changes in the aggregate exposure itself, I mark on my charts with those dotted lines in blue, where we can see those switches. Let's go back, which I'm showing, which represents the exposure at all. Let's go into Charm. Charm itself gives you a natural pressure to either the upside or the downside, and this is super bullish. It's below the zero line, which indicates overall bullish pressure in the markets. And if we zoom in, you can see this hump right here where we are trading, but the slope is to the upside as well. dropping off like a waterfall here. So what this is telling us is that downside from overall flows is somewhat protected, not greatly, but at least a little bit. So maybe we can see some sort of moderate downside if news come out as negative. However, once we breach these negative bars here, which will help price declining, we are dropping off very steep here, and this is again really strong support. So it's also somewhat limited for today's trading session, not for the upcoming days. This will of course change. This is at 4740, which on the charts represent this area right here. So that's why I have my key level also plotted in here. For one, it's in the middle of this ugly range, and it also is in line with the switches in the aggregate exposure. That is that. Trying to make this video not as long. Yeah, and if price trades higher, that is highly supported from overall flows in the market, and we can expect some upside squeeze through the major resistance we have above right now. Then let's look into the term structure, which measures how traders have priced in volatility for at the money options, so where price is trading at right now. What we are focusing on is the green line here. This is where we are today, and this is the how traders have priced in volatility for the upcoming days, and this is very bullish. This is a volatility spike for today, which I call is an event vol spike, which is very typical to see on macro event days. And like I said, this is very bullish because traders are pricing in that volatility is going lower over the next couple of days. So this is for the ES, which brings me to the conclusion. Let's bring that up in here. Delta is positive, gamma exposure is positive, term structure is pricing in higher volatility, but is also positive. Vanna inertia is, or Vanna itself is sensitive to the downside. So that is the risk we have to be aware of. And Charm shows us that the overall flows are also bullish, so there's no need to have a bearish bias as of right now. However, price will dictate what we will get later on. So that is for the S&P. Let's change it to the Nasdaq. Triple Q. And NQ. So these are my levels for NQ today. Much more levels than on ES, but that's from the nature of NQ itself because it's trading in a greater price range. So there are naturally more levels to look at. However, the range I am focusing on is this year. Those levels for one the main resistance at 2740 and the line the strong support level down here at 19700, which is in line with the ugly range we have traded in recently, and let's delete it. So this is the range I am expecting. We are staying in as of today. Then I have plotted on two key levels. For one is this one here at 20,400, which can indicate some deeper pullback if we trade below it. And this is the overall key level at 20,120-ish, which I'm focusing on for today to indicate whether we will see more downside or overall upside, and price again is trading above it, so bullish bias. Then all these minor levels, I'm just expecting some or smaller levels here with the thinner line. I'm expecting just minor reactions to it, and that if news come out as positive, we can easily trade above those. And also like ES trading into that main resistance level right here, which indicates very strong a very strong magnet, so that this price is attracted to that area very much. And those are because of the major demand zone we have built over the past couple of trading days, where I really want to try to buy if price comes down below it, even though it's below the key level. But you always want to sell short high and buy long low, and not the opposite. So that's why I'm focusing on here to buy the ES if we come down that far. And if we break below this level, then it would indicate an overall change in the higher time frame trend. Let's hope not that we will see that, because it can get very violent. And let's look into Volant data, what's it's telling us for NQ. Vanna inertia minus 0.41, so also more sensitive to negative news. Let's go into the aggregate trend. It's showing us a different picture, where we had touched the limits for NQ around, what is it, July. And since then the overall trend is accelerating very aggressively. So this tells us NQ has room to go, which is in line with actual price itself, because NQ was very lagging behind other indices. So also a sign to be bullish. Then the overall delta exposure is positive for dealers. Gamma exposure, however, is negative, with a chop zone right here, but overall it's more negative than it's positive. So this has the implication that dealers will hedge by selling into dips and buying into rips, which increases overall volatility, making the moves faster and the price range bigger or greater. Then the gamma exposure, let's go into it real quick. It shows us some sort of V shape right here. So maybe we bounce back and forth of this, which is in line with those two levels here, this and that. And We have on the other side very good downside protection here with those negative bars. So for NQ the downside shouldn't be as big as it can be for ES. That's what I'm seeing here. Let's go into VANA itself. Sensitivity to volatility, like I said before, minus 0.41, so more sensitive to negative news than to positive, which is represented by the convexity is looking like this and very little to the upside only. So if news come out as negative, price will be attracted to these strikes, which are also further down below. And as if the news are positive, it's mainly this strike here, which where price is going to be attracted to, which is the main resistance line here. So that's why I'm also saying if everything turns out to be as bullish, then that is my main target. Then let's look into the aggregate VANA. This is what you want to see from a bullish perspective because it shows you a strong V, indicating that the aggregate gives you the stair steps of very strong resistance. However, it's also further out. So the price range will be greater than we had in the beginning of this year. And the upside, this is should be seen as resistance, but the slope is not as aggressive as the downside slope. So the easiest path is to go to the upside for price. And if you zoom in, that again is the 500 level, where the resistance gets really steep. And here we have these the curve right here. So pressing into the resistance level is highly likely. Then let's look into charm real quick. There we have aggregate charm, which is important to look at, and this shows you overall it's the overall exposure is negative, indicating downside pressure. However, we are currently trading in this bump right here, in this positive bump, and it will take much to get out of it. So it's also acting as a great area of support. And however, on the upside, we have this negative hump here, which will act as resistance, which is between 497 and 498, which I have marked on my chart. Let's zoom in a little bit, as being from here 26.15 until 27.31. So if price comes into here, you can expect that the upside move will face resistance here. So that is that. Hope this video is not getting too long. What else am I seeing? That is NQ. Then the term structure for NQ is the same as for ES. Volatility today is priced in as being higher and is declining over the next days, which is bullish. Overall, then let's look what I have here. So delta is positive, gamma is negative, term structure is bullish, sensitivity is negative, and the pressure is overall to the downside, but with that very strong support down below. So overall my beers on NQ is also bullish. Then let's dive into YM real quick. Oops, wrong button. YM, and that are my levels for YM today. The range is much greater than it is for our other indices. So my main focus is this level here and this level here, 42,300 and 43,300 are the main levels and the main range I am focusing on right now. With the lines in descent, I have two at 42,193 and 42,000. If we trade below those, then further downside is to be expected, and upside should be around this level right here, this area. And the reason for that is YM. Let's change it real quick to the Dow Jones. Inertia is positive 0.53, so the opposite from S&P and NQ. Positive news have a greater impact than negative news, which is good and bullish. The aggregate Vanna trend shows us that YM had a really tough time over the past weeks with having these massive negative bars down here, which is in line with when we look at the daily real quick, this choppiness we had all the time here. Indicating that YM consistently had reached its upper limits, and yeah, that is that. Let's zoom in again. Then back to Volant. However, like I said before, economic news can offset those limits, and after that the options chain has to reposition themselves. So delta is overall positive and gamma is also positive, which results in dealers having to hedge their portfolios by buying into dips and selling into rips, which compresses volatility. Then when we look into the gamma itself, we can see those big towers here. That's where the main range is, indicating strong support and strong resistance. So it's unlikely that we breach those two big fat bars here, and in between there is just strong chop to be expected, but those are the main levels I'm focusing on, which are again this one here and this one, this one here. Then let's go into Vanna. This shows us very easily to see that it's more attracted to the upside than to the downside with those positive bars. So very bullish positioning, and also downside is very strong protected here with those big fat negative bars down below, which act again as repellents, and we have that one bar to the top side, which is, if we look at the charts, I haven't even marked it on my charts, it's too far out. Yeah, that's about that. Then the aggregate trend is similar to S&P. Overall, not healthy in terms of a bull market, with very little put support down below. We only have this small one right here, and if price trades below, then downside can be greater than most people would expect it to be. So we have to be aware of the risk that is around here. 421 is this level here, Vanna flip at 42 400 ish. Then let's look at charm itself. Shows us the front end of the curve is very negative, the back end is positive. And due to the overall exposure, the pressure is to the downside more than it is to the upside. However, the slope is also important to watch at, and like it was on NQ, it's falling off a cliff at some point. Yes, sorry for that. It's falling off a cliff right around into the 430 level here, which again is the main resistance at 43,300. So I'm expecting us to press into that level if everything comes in to be as positive again. So let's look really quick into the term structure. Also bullish, indicating today the volatility is greater and will get lower in the next couple of days, which again is bullish. Let's look into the term structure for the VIX real quick. Where it is there, VIX. VIX is showing us an increase in volatility over the next couple of days, which is contrarian what we can see from the indices itself. However, it's only indicating us on the VIX that the base volatility itself might get a little bit higher. So let's come to the conclusion of the YM. What do I have on YM? Delta positive, gamma positive, both bullish. Term structure bullish. Sensitivity is to volatility is bullish, but with risk to the downside with no major put support down below. And the pressure overall is to the downside. However, the slope is positive. So my view of today is very bullish. Let's see what we can get at 8:30 in the morning, New York time. Also worth mentioning is the monthly budget, which is indicating how inflation is going to be in the future, because the only entity that can create inflation is the government itself, and all the supply chain issues and whatsoever are false belief in terms of inflation. So only the government spending is the reason for whether inflation will accelerate or decline further. So that is important to watch it to come to a conclusion what the Fed has to do in the upcoming meetings in terms of either cutting rates further or staying with the Fed's fund rate where it is right now. And with that, I'm done with my explanation, and I will try to upload some videos more in the future and also trying to keep them shorter. However, I wish you good luck for today's trading session and be patient. Don't place your orders before the news, wait for the reaction, and then look for good trade setups after the news have come out, and wait for the volatility to settle down a little bit so that you can manage your risk. Wish you good luck and have a great day.